Our next panel is about cyber resilience in financial services, staying ahead in the age of AI threats, moderated by Cristian Manescu, CEO Data Core Systems with over 20 years of experience in the IT and cybersecurity sector. Please.
Thank you very much. Welcome to this panel. I always believe in this line of field in cybersecurity that maybe our companies are competitors, but we on this side of the table on cybersecurity, we should all be friends. So I invite you to my new friends to talk a little bit about this interesting subject. This is Brennan, Cristinel, Larisa, and Alessandro. And I also invite you to be our friends today and participate to this panel. Right now, there is a very big talk about AI, about cyber resilience, and I prepared some very, very tough questions for our guests today. And I start with the first one. What is cyber resilience?
Sure, I can start. Everybody, I'm Brennan Lodge from New York City. Great to be here in Romania. So the question, and they put me, interestingly, in between the two Christians, so I better be on my good behavior. Cyber resilience, right? What does that mean? It's an interesting question. So the first thing that comes to my mind is, hey, the website's down or our application isn't working, and people are pissed off and want to point at the head of cybersecurity. So a lot of times it's, hey, we're being hacked, right? Because our application or website is down. Not always the case, everybody. So take that home with you. And when it comes to cyber resilience, just good practice is, so in the event of those outages, can you recover and recover quickly? So that is, probably the most important. And then in the age of AI, it's blaming, hey, is there a hack or has our AI gone rogue and, shut down our systems? So always important to have the backup plans, resiliency, of course, really good cybersecurity practices and just procedures of, in the event that it does, because it will, how can you recover?
Good afternoon, I'm Cristi. Nice to be here. Thank you, in the first place, to the organizer for having me. Regarding the question about the resilience, well, resilience has multiple definitions depending on who's asking about it. For me, the resilience coming from the financial sector, let's say it's the superpower that allow us to lose as less as possible in case of an incident or of an adversary event. So in order to ensure this resilience, there are as in any process, because it's not a thing, it's just as complex as a process with phases, stages, and so on. You need to understand what's important for you, to see who's after what's important for you, meaning for who is important what you have, how they work, how to identify their intent to attack you, how to counterattack their activities, how to respond, how to contain, and also how to do it fast with minimum financial loss in that case. So that's pretty much it. The resilience part in my book.
Hello everyone, I'm Larisa. Thank you also for being here and for this discussion. For me, cyber resilience, as my colleagues also said, refers to being able to recover in case of an incident, which may be security incident or other type of operational incident. Now, what I think is very important is to know the journey to get there. So the steps that you take, like my colleague said, from threat intelligence, going further into the security controls that you implement, into the testing that you do for business continuity or for threat-led penetration testing and things like that. But it's also about the role of each, let's say, department in the organization. Because I firmly believe that resilience is not only, let's say, the job of business continuity or the job of security, like Brennan said, but actually the business units, IT, and all of the other departments, including communication, for instance, have a big role in this respect. And having, let's say, internal discussions and knowing how to approach things from all perspectives and viewpoints, I think it's essential as the technical safeguards for resilience.
Thank you for being here. My name is Alessandro. Miracca. I'm from Mastercard, responsible for the delivery of cybersecurity services across Europe. And what I can add more. So we had 3 meaningful insights about cyber resilience. Maybe I can share something that happened to me a while ago. I was with a client who asked me the same question: what is cyber resilience? Because it was stuck on the definition on the chemical definition of resilience. So the possibility to try to mutate something which is not going to change their own shape. So he said to me, okay, but resilience is basically being stuck in the same condition, so having no way to alter the situation. And I said, hey, but we have also another meaning of resilience, and it's from philosophy. Philosophy says resilience is the ability to allow yourself to adapt to the circumstances, to the external environment, and to make sure that you can also in somehow prevent and diminish the impact of certain attacks. And this is exactly what I'd like to talk about with you today. For me, cyber resilience is the ability to diminish as much as possible the impacts coming from an unprecedented attack, from an unexpected event, from a crisis scenario.
Thank you very much. I know I have a good panel. You actually took my next 3 questions. You answered them already. I was going to ask how to achieve cyber resilience, but I guess you covered this very well. It's not just one thing. I also like what Larisa pointed that it's not just about cyber security. In this context, cyber resilience is tied to cyber attacks, but it's not just that. It's also operational resilience that we need to solve. What do you think, who's in one company, who's the people who is most responsible for cyber resilience? Who do you think that should be?
Yeah, everyone is responsible. Everyone's a cyber warrior in the company. Sorry for that broad answer, but when it comes to like accountability, which comes along with responsibility, I think the best tests are some of the tabletop exercises. So we've tested these, whether it be a ransomware test or a full-on like DR business continuity test. We do it annually. And you really raise some eyebrows in the boardroom when you bring this together and do the tabletop. And then, it comes out of, hey, communication, who is going to pull the plug in the event that, hey, we've got this activity. And then in the case of AI, you have examples. So you can do the tabletop exercise, but not sure if anyone else has seen this, but we've experienced it in real life of these annoying, bots that are trying to join into our meetings, right? To record notes or, record and get the summaries, which are annoying as hell to deal with. And, an example being a Read AI. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with it, but, not only do you have to it is a pop-up and you have to accept, then it, begins recording all the information without any of the other meeting members knowing, which is, scary. So the resiliency there, we had a firsthand to, investigate and take care of this worm, which was also sending emails on the AI bot's behalf. So, that is a real world scenario on top of the tabletop scenarios. And, the head of security to, the head of DR, if you have one at your company, are accountable. But, the decisions come from the executive team, and we really have to prepare them. So what better way than, the tabletop exercises for those really tough decisions?
Well, I think this is quite a good question. DORA give us an answer regarding the responsibility, putting it on the shoulders of the top management, right? So we're safe now. But the appointed responsible indeed is in the top management area, but further down the line, as Brennan said, we are all responsible to ensure the resilience. How this will work in a financial organization, let's say, this responsibility is clearly covered in the internal framework, governance framework. It's mandatory for organizations where DORA applies to have such documents, such governance in place. And in the digital resilience strategy or operational resilience strategy or continuity resilience strategy, depending on what you're looking at, the roles and responsibilities are clearly specified. In the most cases, those are distributed among the directions or departments or teams that can do or have an input with the resilience. Either they implement and perform operational activities on this side, or they control what the operational teams do. So the usual setup would be top management and a specific department in the technology area, combined with the department in the risk management area to ensure both the implementation and the control, and the reporting to the and responsible, to say, reporting to the management.
Yeah, from my perspective, what my colleagues said is very relevant. I've seen it also in practice. What I would add is that whereas we have, let's say in Europe at least, these obligations under the DORA or under NIS2 for management to be liable for operational resilience and cybersecurity in general, we also have to look a bit how you transpose this effectively into the processes of the organization. So you have to think which are the roles, the responsibilities within each process. For instance, I know, like software development lifecycle, vulnerability management, incident response, to kind of build in this steps of the operational resilience within those processes. And this how, building it like a puzzle, you end up with, let's say, a robust approach towards resilience. And maybe two things I would mention. One is that in this case, you have to find somehow the role of third parties, especially your vendors, especially if they hold your data somehow, like software, a SaaS solution or something similar. But also in other cases, if they just provide you with software. So you have to somehow manage that part so they can also recover from an incident, and they also have the building blocks for resilience in place. And in terms of artificial intelligence, I saw it in two directions. On the one hand, you also have to figure out, taking into account the entire AI stack, how you make that operational and you recover in case of an incident for an AI solution. But also, on the other hand, you can build some steps with AI within your processes to automate, to maybe improve certain things, especially in terms of the time it takes you to remediate, to recover, to do containment, and all of those things. So this would be from my perspective.
Yeah, I totally agree. To be honest, we said it's a responsibility of everyone to collaborate to cyber resilience. We know that cyber resilience does not mean cybersecurity. On the other hand, I like to share the same paradigm. So all of us know that cybersecurity and also cyber resilience are made by people, process, and technology. So I totally agree with the first insight coming from the colleagues saying everybody should participate. So I'm a huge fan of shared responsibility across cyber resilience and cybersecurity overall. Processes must be mature enough to make sure that they can support the activities. We have also a technological layer that we have to deal with. We're talking about software development, why not mentioning business continuity or disaster recovery? So when we talk about backups, of course, air gap technology may support in having a fallback plan in case something bad happened to your own infrastructure. But on the other end, you need great processes, you need mature processes to make sure that these technology are enabled. A weak password in a backup tool, even air gap, may bring to severe issues for the company. So let's imagine password _01 for the administrator. Everyone can sneak that password, can enter in that and delete the backup files, even if they are air gap. And you find out yourself with no backups and your infrastructure completely encrypted. So yeah, for me, cyber resilience, how to act them is to make sure that we have the same level of maturity for technology, processes, and people. With people, of course, it means awareness, and process, it means that they follow the technology that we are going to implement within the company, but also including the third party, so looking at the whole digital ecosystem.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is what I also believe, that everybody should be involved in cyber resilience, and actually the final, let's say, burden is on the management, top management, because they have to respond now, and our new regulation are making this very clear. You started a little bit to talk about this, but I want to dig a little further. I am also top management, but I'm lucky to be in this field of work, so I know what to do sometimes. But how do we deal with top management who is not experienced in this in cybersecurity, in IT maybe, who were born before the computer was invented? What can we do? What can we do as a professional to help them?
Yeah, it goes back to accountability and education, right? I feel like we are educators in cybersecurity. It's our responsibility to inform, top down, whether that be going toe to toe with the executive to try and get some money for your DR and technology, or your junior analyst that you just hired off of college. The education is really important. And, I start, and I'm lucky because I work in a small organization, but I get to provide onboarding training of, information security to each of the employees. And then, with that, setting just realistic expectations of, what we do here. We do monitor, we do review. When it comes to DR and monitoring, like, we're gonna look at your activity if there is an alert. And sometimes you get a little pushback from that, but it's those expectations. And then when it comes to resiliency and backups, it's setting the true SLA, right? The service time of what we're going to do to recover, and that goes up to the executive team. So in the event we do have an outage, and it's a big outage related to maybe a hurricane that I'm used to in the United States, it's 24 hours rather than scrambling around and telling our customers when we're going to get back up and running. So the accountability, right? Inform, make decisions, educate as much as possible, and do those tabletop exercises as much as possible. So in the event when it does happen, because it will happen, you've got a procedure, and your folks have been educated on this previously to do better when the real thing happens.
So the question is how to get the involvement from your non-technical stakeholders, right? Okay, I will share I think, 3 of my secret techniques to do that. Sometimes successfully, sometimes not, but most of the time it works. For the first secret, let's say, when you will go and try to have the buy-in from non-technical stakeholders, you need to learn to speak their language. Right? Of course, maybe you're a technical person, maybe it's exciting for you to explain how I don't know, critical system went down, how did your team recover it, and what kind of actions you perform, but they will not be such as excited as you. So you will need to make a lot of analogies to understand what is the field of expertise and try to put it in the right format. If you're looking to the top management strategical approach and the strategical language with trends and metrics and so on will be necessary in order to have the buy-in. The second one, the second secret that I use is to have always, or as much as possible, clear numbers on the whatever event I'm going to communicate. In the top management, numbers are not just numbers. So this is usually helping. Regardless, there are numbers about external events or activities, or about internal events or activities. And the last secret that I wanted to share is that in order to get the buy-in and to make a difference and to have them prepared to listen to you is to build a reputation. You should act honestly, not scaring them to get more money for your budget, but to be honest with the real situation and to let's say, get the attention when this attention is needed. Also, making bold affirmations or provisions and so on can have potential to harm your reputation. Therefore, they will not trust you anymore. So that's the 3 secrets I have.
Very nice points. Thank you. And don't tell this secret to anyone. So,
Thank you for sharing your secrets. What I think about discussing with top management in terms of security and resilience is that this is a process. So you cannot expect that they will follow all the things that you are telling them from the start. It's sort of what you said, Christy, to explain it in their language, to make some analogies that are familiar in their field of work. And maybe do this gradually, because cybersecurity is a very vast, let's say, subject, and maybe they will not be able to swallow all the information and understand all of the concepts and nuances. Because before cybersecurity, they also had to understand frauds, they had to understand know your customer rules and so on. So they had to be experts in a lot of fields. But I think that doing this constantly, like Brennan said, through tabletops, I also feel this is a very good idea. Doing role play, so somehow involving them in the process, so they are active, so they take decisions, and then they see at the end of the tabletop what actually happened with those decisions that they took. It kind of prepares them for the moment that an incident actually occurs. And then if we go in time, let's say, if an incident does occur, I think that is the moment when straightforward communication to management is essential. So they should be informed timely, they should understand exactly the risks, the impact in a non-technical language, of course. And in instant response, in instant management, I think also the lessons learned part is very important, because from lessons learned, in case you had an incident or maybe just some alerts that you investigated that didn't turn out to be an incident, there you understand how things work, how to improve them, and it's an opportunity also for management to understand how things can be changed, either in the instant management process itself, so if that can be improved, or in some security controls in certain areas that can be improved from technical or processes perspective. So that would be my view.
Well, in my experience, the best approach that I found was to speak the common language of the top management, and this means risk quantification. So sharing an approach in which we are able to provide top management an estimation about the cyber risk, the potential financial loss connected to a crisis scenario, it's what definitely break the barriers between the CISOs, the head of security, and the top manager. You're going to share a real number. Hey, in case of a ransomware, we are going to lose X million. And they know about it because they can easily do a parallel with, okay, our business is worth X, and we are going to lose Z in case of an event. So it's easy to trigger cost-benefit mechanism, cost-benefit reasoning about this common thing. We have also some collaterals that can support this. Cyber crisis simulation are a great way to share awareness, to raise the knowledge also of the people about the most common threats, the most incoming threats that may suffer in the future, because all of us know that nowadays we cannot say if something is going to happen, but it's more on when this is going to happen. So definitely we have to prepare the top management in facing crisis scenario and in applying cyber resilience principles. On the other end, I am really a fan of sharing with the top management numbers. So sharing something that is tangible for them, and they are basically in their everyday job to evaluate this number in respect to others, and trigger also potential consideration on this.
As a top manager myself, I can confirm I like numbers, so this is very good. Some very interesting points, which I also believe to be true. We have to explain them in ways they can understand, and the numbers are very good way for top management to understand. Also, what I see sometimes is when I go to a cybersecurity conference, it's sometimes you see the presentation, you see like the world is ending now, but nothing is working, everything is bad. I think we don't have to overdo it to scare them to go over the top and say the reality is worse than it is. It should be real, it should be with words, and these tabletops are a very good way to do this. I would like to start, let's say, talk a little bit about more about IE, which is a topic on everyone's mind. And I'm going to ask a question when we are going to vote, everybody in the room, since we are most of us cybersecurity professional. Does this IE, as a cybersecurity professional, scares you or gives you hope? Let's try to vote. Who is scared about IE? From everybody in the room. Who is scared about IE in cybersecurity? Okay, I'm also scared, but I also give me hopes. I give hope in cybersecurity. Hands up to see. Nobody's have hope. Okay, Brennan, since you have hope, you start.
Yeah, there is hope. First off, I'm a little bit scared as well. The movie Terminator, right? It makes me think of the worst case scenario of how AI can take over and destroy humanity, right? As Elon Musk likes to say. But no, there's hope. And look, we're struggling in the cybersecurity industry. Breach after breach, companies being on the front page of the Wall Street Journal because credit card numbers got out, or intellectual property or private data got out. Being a SOC analyst in my early career and, seeing a variety of different types of attacks, whether they be nation state or, a secretary clicking on a link in an email, any of those scenarios could relate to a breach. So we need help. And what better way than some of our robot friends, not the Terminator, but those helping us out with the deluge of data and the queue of alerts that we have to bring down to zero, which is a tall task. So AI for hope on is language ability of synthesizing that language and making sense out of it for that junior analyst that may not know the network layer at your company, and interpreting the threat reports that are sometimes 100 pages. And don't get me started on all the regulations. Hey, the American here trying to pull back on regulations. No, they're good, but those 100 pages are just hard to understand. They're written by lawyers. They're written by, sorry to the politicians, that haven't spent time in cybersecurity. And how are we to interpret those lawyer speak of regulations? Just tell me what I freaking need to do in order to abide by this law that I'm required to do as the chief information security officer. So being able to interpret that with our own policies, with our own procedures, and then implementing that with justification, and being able to talk with the auditors, right, and get in on their language. So I think AI is good for the auditors, it's good for junior folks, and a tide that raises all boats of knowledge, especially when it comes to cybersecurity and the vast domains of application security, host security, physical security, and regulations and risks. Like we've got to understand that in bite-sized pieces, and then be able to explain that to our executives of why this is costing so much money when they speak in ROI terms. AI is here to help.
Agree with Brennan is here to help, but still scares me. I mean, I think this came with the job. You need to be a little bit scared of anything to allocate time and resources to understand it and to see if your fear is for real or not. So far, the AI is relatively new, comparing to the other technologies, but this is one aspect that scares me. It grows very fast. Everybody talks about AI, even in our conference. I was looking a little bit on the subjects and topics, and I saw that around 30% are related to AI, or at least that's what I saw without digging into it. Also, looking at the numbers from the various reports and publications, AI is widely used with growing rate, high growing rate from previous years, and also is not only used by the good guys, also by the bad guys, and it gets worse a little bit. As a forecast, let's say, it is expected for the AI to become a norm for threat actors. So that's the second aspect which scares me. However, they have it, we have it. Resilience, coming back to the definition of the resilience, I have the definition for the resilience in this context, resilience would be that activity to use the AI better than the adversary, let's say.
From my perspective, I think it's useful to approach AI in terms of, let's say, a new technology. So what would you do if a new technology appears similar to what we've done maybe with cloud and maybe, I don't know, blockchain or other things? So I would first try to understand it better and better, because now it's let's say maybe reaching maturity. It's not yet fully mature in certain aspects. So you, on the first hand, you have to keep pace with all of the developments, all of the new trends and the new use of AI. And then maybe I would split the discussion into two sides. So first of all, if you use AI for cybersecurity, so you actually embed AI in your cybersecurity processes. Here, you can go with things that are developed internally to a certain extent, or with off-the-shelf products, which have started to appear also on the market. Some startups, some more mature solutions, and so on. And to think a bit about the processes in which this can be embedded. Like Brennan said, for SOC department or for threat intelligence analysis, I've seen use cases that go really, really well. Also in terms of threat modeling and threat hunting, there are some valid use cases on the market, and some that can be custom made internally, and this can enhance a bit, let's say, the cybersecurity responsiveness or the cybersecurity posture, given that, as Cristi said, also the attackers have AI, so they just have out-of-the-box solutions enhanced with AI that can do some damage. So keeping up, let's say, with the same level of tools as they have. And maybe also one direction would be for governance to kind of automate, and maybe this could also help for audit, audit parts. There are some initiatives, for instance, OSCAL from NIST can be enhanced a bit with the automation in order to kind of give you visibility of that continuous monitoring that keeps appearing in procedures, standards, and legislation. So that would be, well, let's say, one side of the coin, to use AI in cybersecurity to have better resilience. And on the other side, in terms of the use of AI in our organizations. So here I see that we have some issues that we've gone through before. Like we had shadow IT, now we have shadow AI. We've done input validation for web applications, for instance. Now we have to do some sort of input validation for AIs. So some of the things are issues, problems that we've dealt with in the past. We just have to figure a new way to approach them in terms of technology or processes and people that have to know how to approach the technology. But also there are some new particularities, given that it's a different technology than the one that we are used to. So we have to look a bit about the type of techniques, tactics used by attackers on AI that are different than the usual IT systems that we are used to, and try to match those and integrate those into our processes. And maybe just one example, for instance, I've seen there are tools on the market that do like prompt inspection and all sorts of validations, and to try to see if the model is being poisoned and things like that. And that can be easily integrated in the CM and SOC so that they are correlated with other events. So things like that to correlate the new type of attacks and new types of security solutions with the old things that are already on the premises. So it makes sense to, let's say, look in one place for all the alerts and not in 10 places. So that would be from my side.
Well, my view on AI is a bit atypical, to be honest, because neither I am scared from the AI, nor I am full of trust for AI. To be honest, the first thing that comes to my mind when I see products made by AI is that I'm not impressed. That's funny, I know, and really, it's a very controversial topic. On the other hand, we have plenty of samples on how companies started projects on AI. We have data points from World Economic Forum saying 85% of companies worldwide started an AI project, 13% rolled out something in the production environment. So we have to cope with this. We've invested a lot. As per now, AI is a knowledge manager, either a chatbot. I'm simplifying. I know I'm bold in this, but I'm oversimplifying and saying we have just scratched the surface of what AI is. On the contrary, we have also samples on the ton of hallucinations that AI may pose to us, and on the other hand, the breaches that you may suffer in totally relying on AI. We have also samples, I'm not going to share the name, maybe I'm going to do it in private later. We have a famous company who trusted AI for creating 100% of their own source code on Python via AI. They suffered a breach 3 days later. They had completely their whole stack stopped because of this. AI is very schematic in source code, in development of the source code, in creating safeguards for the company itself, and this might be leveraged also from the attackers. So they know how the AI works, and they know how to easily circumnavigate the safeguard the solutions, the cybersecurity solution that they may pose. So from my point of view, we still need some human oversight over the AI. So we must ensure that AI is filled with human knowledge, and this means that we cannot say AI is something that we can trust overall.
Well, thank you very much. We have a joke in our company that in the future we will end up that our AI will fight the bad guys AI, and we just sit around, eat popcorn and see who wins. So, but we are not there yet. But this field is changing very rapidly, and everybody wants to get on this AI track because in top management they see there's a vulnerability if they do not do it. We, as more technical or security professional, have a, let's say, different understanding. From what I understand here, you agree with me that we need to. It's nothing very scary, but also it poses some challenges. My point of view, the biggest challenge is that it is very fast. It's happening very fast, and we don't have time to prepare it. But I want to. You already started touch about this to make a difference between AI for cybersecurity, cybersecurity for AI, and AI for cyber criminals. What's the difference, and how can we deal with that? Do you want to?
Yeah, just a quick rebuttal on. I agree with the statement of AI failure, right? And the Terminator, I'll be back to fail your company or fail with society. But for the implementation parts and the metrics are out there, I agree. We're failing as far as how we implement AI, and for the chat bots, it reminds me of Microsoft's Clippy when that came out, the annoying pop-up, right? That reminds me a lot of where we are with AI and the chat bots. And then for the implementation, what are the project managers doing for managing AI projects? Yeah, they're failing, but I think we need to take a little step back on how we implement and take smaller projects. So I think a lot of companies today are trying to do it all, like the AI models that are trained today in order to take in all of the data and understand all of human knowledge and language, which is a tall task. But as far as implementing use cases within AI for cybersecurity, back to the question here is, Yeah, take a piecemeal approach. Start small. So when I was building AI, I started with retrieval augmented generation, and I got lucky with my research and going down the rabbit hole, because the approach with RAG is you can manage your own vector database, stored on-prem or within your network. You can manage an LLM, granted it's not an API hitting OpenAI or the open web to pull back the results from that model. You can have a localized model, right? And in security, we've got to trust but verify. So you ask a lot of the researchers who are building and training and fine-tuning these models, and you ask them, well, how does it work? They have no freaking clue, right? It's neural networks. It's, sophisticated data science implementations of rooted decisions that have multiple tiers of how those decisions are being made. And to pinpoint and know exactly how that's happening is a nightmare for us in cybersecurity. So let's go back a second and use some of our age-old implementations of good cybersecurity practices. So that's auditing, that's logging, that's recording the events, and using a monitoring approach to that. So back to the implementation part, let's do better of implementing. So let's log all the questions that are being asked to the LLM model. Let's see what those results are. And yeah, it's tough because it's not a math problem usually that the LLM is solving. It's a subjective context type of result that is interpretable. And it's human deterministic type of behavior that is hard to predict, right? So AI for good. Let's do better at project management, and use AI for cybersecurity. So I'll pass it on.
Yeah, from a cybersecurity perspective, classifying the most active threat actors, we see risks or threats used by internal insiders, internal employees, and in the second place, the usual cybercrime attackers, let's say. As mentioned previously, they are improving their modus operandi, their ways in order to breach organizations, and also we are seeing attacks that are fairly related to AI. Mentioning here AI-assisted social engineering, deepfakes, a new attack, for example, the prompt injection that was mentioned by Larisa also. So there are changes, there are modification changes in the threat landscape with this new toy, let's say, the AI. Also, I just wanted to say that AI is in the incipient phases. We don't know what we don't know about AI. We can't see what will be in 5 years, 10 years, considering that, let's say, ChatGPT only has 3 years now, and it was a boom with it. Also, we need to understand that a human will be always in the control. So there are things that are scaring me, but that are things that are comfort me or giving me comfort, like this panic button, which is not just let's say another control, but is requested by AI Act or other regulations and so on. So I was saying that we don't know what we don't know, but we know how to use it also from the defender point of view. Many controls, capabilities, tools that we are using today and are provided by organizations, by providers that are investing a lot of money in AI, are now AI ready, let's say. So my expectation will be, or how do I see that it will work in the future? We will have like a supercharged security analyst. He will not stay to dig into a lot of false positives, large volume of logs and so on. I still dream about having like a ChatGPT console saying, hey, tell me how many attacks on a certain firewall or a certain solution we had. This is the number. Okay, go deeper and tell me which are the IPs and so on. So it will be like a tool for the cybersecurity teams, and but still the knowledge that we have today will not disappear, but it will transform actually. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
From my perspective, I think that attackers and defenders are in this cat and mouse game that we all know. It's just that when it comes to new technologies and the opportunities that AI brings, attackers kind of augmented very quickly on the one hand the efficiency, on the other hand the speed at which they can do some sort of attacks, and to the also, let's say, the sophistication of their attacks very quickly. And we've seen also some moves on the defender side, more, let's say, in terms of startups or large security companies having in place certain solutions that either use AI to improve certain things, especially in the log analysis and instant response and things like that. Some more automated, some more with human intervention, depending also on the client preferences. But also in terms of AI security. So trying to understand the new technology in the same time that the technology itself is evolving. And so keeping up with how the AI is maturing, and trying to find some security controls, some mechanism to prevent, like data breaches, exfiltration of data, or harms brought to the users that are using the AIs, and all those, let's say, negative consequences in terms of using AI. And also, I think that one area that takes a lot of time for organizations to build upon, depending on the level of their maturity, is the part of actually analyzing the AI solution. Generally, in security standards and also legislation, when you have a new application in your ecosystem, you try to analyze it from various perspectives, from vulnerabilities, from a threat modeling perspective to see the risks. If it comes from a third party, you maybe do some analysis on the third party, do some penetration testing, so all those things. Given that also the third parties themselves are maturing and they are constantly developing their solution, making all this work in practice can be challenging. Trying to not, let's say, lose perspective of any potential risks. But at the same time, allowing the business to actually play around, do proof of concepts, and try to figure out how they can use the respective AI solutions. So this is my perspective. You have to look from multiple angles, either if you are a defender, trying to implement new AI solutions for cybersecurity, or if you are a defender that is analyzing AI solutions that enter your IT infrastructure and IT landscape.
I would say that AI is a very democratic solution. So there are plenty of opportunities to leverage on AI within a company. So, for example, I like a lot the use of AI for internal audit purposes, for example, to examine huge amount of data as an alternative to Monte Carlo simulations or something similar. And I like also the way how you can leverage AI to support in questionnaire fulfillment, in the write down of certain document, of course, with the supervisory of a human being. On the other hand, AI can be used also by criminals, by attackers, to have a further way to produce malware or to produce potential threats. All of us know that Fraud GPT exists, and Fraud GPT is a great platform to produce social engineering campaigns. So you can test by your own, and please do not use it to attack your own colleagues, but it's great. So it creates campaign with QR code that connect you with real domains, and from there you can have multiple ops before to jump into the final web page, the scam one, in which you're supposed to enter, in which the target is supposed to enter credential on password. As cybersecurity professional, we stay in the middle. So this is exactly the cybersecurity for AI that we need to ensure. It's somehow about safeguard, so to make sure that we instruct our LLM to limit certain behaviors, to stop from the production of certain kind of contents, but it's also about other level of defense that we are able to implement in order to make sure that, again, AI has no direct impact on our customer potentially, or any other potential targets from the threat actor point of view.
Thank you very much. As I said sometime to my customers, I don't know how your journey with AI will go. If you will do what you want, if you'll work as you want. My job as a cybersecurity professional is to make sure that you are safe in this journey. So this is what. And I got good news. They are canceling lunch, and we can continue for 2 more hours. Now, actually, we are closing to our time, and I want to see if anybody has any question for us at this time. No? Okay. I think the lunch is...
We got a question.
Let's try. Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have a question. How you see the... so how difficult, let's start like this, how difficult it's for European and institutional financial services to offer resilience if they use cloud public services? How difficult it's for here in Romania or in Europe in general, having in mind the geopolitical, context and the threats, the cyber threats. Let's say what Microsoft had AVZ with the DNS issue. How difficult it is, and how you see that that's risk for in terms of resilience for a financial institutional company, maybe a startup like Salt or whatever.
Good question, and not, let's say, new for me. There are variation of this question addressed to me from time to time. Indeed, it is, let's say, proved that with a bigger presence in the digital area, in the online environment, you get more exposure. And using public cloud services, indeed, is extended the attack surface. The threats are not only the ones targeting on-prem as usual, but it adds more and more. This is something new. This is not necessarily only for financial services. We are, let's say, one of the first that adopted this, but this kind of threat existed before, and when a decision to go to cloud was, or to use the cloud was voted or used, all the control, all the risks, actually all the risk, all the controls around were properly assessed, evaluated, identified. In some cases, if you want, indeed, we are shifting a little bit of responsibility that the usual bank had in the past with the on-prem environment, because it was under its control. But in some, not in some, but these responsibilities are still taken care or still considered. We don't just take the cloud services from a service provider, but we also have a good partnership with that, a strong contract with the public cloud service provider and so on. And indeed, it happened to some of them to have resilience issues, but the probability to happen for a less prepared entity is higher, let's say. And that's why you have like 5 nines availability SLAs.
Yeah, I can take this one too. And you bring up a good point that has got my wheels going on the data residency, right? A discussion that's talked about in cloud. And I think now we have to have the conversation about the model residency as to where that model is located within the cloud and within, what region. And the dichotomy there back to resiliency of, all right, so if we have one model and it goes down in the AWS East region, right, what is our fallback of a model because we have an AI application that is exposed to our customers, right? So it brings up a really good point. And then, you throw regulation out there, right? Who is accountable in the event that the model is living in the US, your data is living in Europe, and who's responsible for what as far as laws and regulations, and then the data backup and the model backup. So I'm sorry I don't have an answer for you. I just wanted to bring up that point for the rest of us to maybe figure out.
Also, it's very hard for European countries to offer resilience without to leverage on the, let's say, US mostly cloud public providers. So indeed, if it will be a geopolitical, like tax wars or something like this, it's a little bit strange.
And AWS just went out like 2 weeks ago, right? You guys were impacted. You guys, Europe, US, right? So it's a great question.
Yeah, I also wanted to say a few words. I would say that no solution is perfect. So even if you are on premise, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are more secure or more resilient than in cloud. I would say that what cloud offers you is exactly what Brennan said. So you can have this within the same cloud provider or multi-cloud in different cloud providers. You can think of a solution of how to do the recovery part. So even if you are, for instance, you don't have availability or something else happens, you have a plan how to get up very quickly, especially in the financial services is very important, in order to be available to your client. So you think of the model you use for, like multi-cloud strategy, and also for identification and authentication. So you have to think the whole process through in order for it to work and to be up and running in a very short time.
Maybe just 30 seconds add-on on my side, because maybe I can share some more insight from the European view. we are assisting to many cloud migrations, especially in the financial services. In Italy, we have a small retail bank that is focusing on non-performing loans that is just started its own transition to full cloud. So it's moving everything in cloud. I'm not sure that this is the golden rule. So I'm not saying that it's the perfect way to go. On the other way, we have also to consider this in a business case potentially. So it's also about costs, and it's also about the support that you may have from this big cloud service provider. So to be honest, if I were in the shoes of an IT manager nowadays, I'm going to trust more the security mechanisms provided by Amazon, Google, or Microsoft rather than the ones that I can implement by myself. Because all of us know that we are in front of severe issues related to skill shortage in the IT and the security personnel. But on the other hand, there are often the on-premise systems are legacy or are tending to be legacy in a few years. So this means that also the effort to implement patching to stay ahead with the most common threats, it's putting to the teams a great pressure. So having also support from the outside, having support from the cloud, and easily implement there some mechanism also with the support of trusted provider like them, because they rely mostly on their own brand reputation. So yeah, of course, issues on Amazon occur, issue on Azure occurs, issue on Google occurs as well, but they can share with you better solutions rather than probably the time and the ones that you can purchase by your own according to the limited amount of budget that you may have.
Thank you. But it's very hard for an European financial institutions to, let's say, in case of those cloud providers, United States cloud providers are not available, let's say, due to geopolitical, I don't know, something. It's very hard because in Europe, the presence for cloud providers, so European cloud providers, it's almost nothing. So this is also a topic how we can go and where to go in Europe.
Thank you very much.